Wike must by now be regretting why he chose to fight Professor Odinkalu. If he's in talking terms with El-Rufai, he should put a call across and find out from him how Prof dealt with him when he wanted to intimidate him. Prof is a human rights activist, an intellectual that comes with facts. He doesn't criticize for the sake of criticizing. He always comes with facts. He will even take you back to history when other judicial luminaries did the right thing. They took their office seriously. They had shame at the time that they shouldn't be seen with politically exposed persons. Compare that to what is happening today in Nigeria. Judicial officers, starting from the CJN, they openly fraternize with politically exposed persons. People who have court cases in their courts. They make it very obvious to litigants that they stand no chance in court, whether they were the wronged parties or they are innocent. Once these politically exposed persons are involved, they stand no chance in court. This brings us back to Wike. Prof reprimanded Wike and the CJN. He said that Wike shouldn't be openly fraternizing with judicial officers. He shouldn't be giving them cars and all sorts of gifts, homes, when he is a politically exposed person and is a litigant in many courts. By doing this, Wike is openly telling his political opponents, which court are you going to go and get justice against me in Nigeria? That he is in charge of the courts. Yes, even Prof at one time referred Wike as the one in charge of the judiciary. On the CJN, Prof said that it was a huge disappointment that day when the CJN sat in an event where Wike was openly bragging about how he recovered land that was allocated to Julius Berger by the same FCT. He recovered the land from them and is now trying to convert it to judicial quarters.
I invited the MD Julius Berger to come. He came and we had dinner. I didn't talk about the land. So the next day, he was in the office and he saw a revocation letter as a matter of public interest.
So what that means is that the CJN and the judicial branch, in connivance with Wike, actively participated in the recovery of a land that belongs to Julius Berger. And Julius Berger is expected to come to which court to reclaim ownership of their land? So because of Prof's reprimand of the duo of Wike and the CJN, many lawyers are now joining the fray. Femi Falana, in an interview with Channels TV, condemned the shameless act that judicial officers shouldn't be openly fraternizing with politically exposed persons. We'll see that in a moment. First, let's see what Wike did to contain the backlash. He quickly called a press conference to absolve himself, claiming that all the gifts they've given judicial officers, including the judicial quarters, are the decisions taken by Tinubu, not him.
It was approved by Mr. President, sent to the National Assembly in 2024 budget that there should be construction of judges and justices quarters. That they must move judges from where they are renting houses. They don't even know where they are living. Where they are living among criminals. We rented houses where the landlord will say, look, you have not paid. Leave. It's embarrassing. A policy anybody should commend Mr. President. I'm only the implementer.
When asked by a journalist that people are insinuating that he's grabbing lands from people in Abuja and giving it to his friends, he had this to say.
The allegation is that you are planning to use those land as settlements for your friends.
Yeah, what's that? No. Yes, what's that? So what's that? That I have something to give to my friends, I will give it to my enemies. What rubbish is that? Please, you see, I tell you before all this. So you, as you sit down here now, I should bring my enemies. No, tell me that I should. See, I do the right thing. It doesn't matter what anybody says. My conscience says, look, what am I doing? Am I right?
One big takeaway from all this that Nigerians must be aware of is that there is power and effects from opposing the government. People always give up easily and say, even if you talk from now till tomorrow, even if you protest from now till 2 weeks, nothing will change. No, that's a wrong mindset. Things change. That's why Nigerians must also appreciate and support intellectuals who speak up. Because when you look at how they were able to steal the election last year, INEC conducted the election with professors. They hired many intellectuals to conduct the election. Upon all that, the election was still stolen. They went to court and the judiciary conducted a judicial coup. So there is power in opposing the government. If Prof didn't reprimand them, Wike wouldn't have called this press conference to at least try to lie to Nigerians to exonerate himself. He wouldn't have had a little shame. He would have continued bragging in his usual manner that nothing will happen, no consequence, I will do whatever I want, intimidate and attack everyone. That's why all of them, all the appointees of this administration are on campaign mode. Look at what NSA said. Instead of tackling security issues, instead of calling a press conference to tell Nigerians how they are faring in terms of security challenges, he started doing praise singing.
These so-called Lakura or whatever you call them, they are making a mistake. Nobody ever dares Tinubu and win. Nobody. They have come at a wrong time. Nobody has ever defeated Tinubu. And you are going to be defeated, and we will kick you out of Nigeria. This is a Nigeria of 2024. And this is a Nigeria where I can assure you the critics will be quiet, one after the other.
Now, let's conclude with Prof's analysis on how we found ourselves in this mess.
We are in a crisis of institutions and of governance, which does not begin with INEC. It begins with the judiciary. Under our constitution, sovereignty belongs to the people. That's section 14. However, right now, the judges have toppled the people. It is a judicial coup in the name of, under the guise of rule of law. I actually call it the ruse of law. Ruse of law, not rule of law. By which the judiciary has progressively expropriated from the people the right to determine who governs us and under what platform. And so instead of winning the votes of the people, what they now do is they buy out judges. It began about 2003, 2004. They now buy out judges. The first person who was able to prove that you could do this, there were two of them. One was Alphonse Wike in Anambra North senatorial seat, in Anyamelum, House of Reps, 2003. The other was Ugochukwuba, Anambra South Senate, 2003. That model then progressively caught fire. And now, judges, bare majorities of judges, install who wins our elections and who loses. So all of us here, to the extent that every one of us is Nigerian, are irrelevant. The person who has mastered the art of purchasing judicial outcomes is the man who is currently the minister for the FCT. And the most improbable judicial outcomes. And so what the article did was to trace in a factual manner, just using the law reports, no adjectives. As a matter of fact, beginning with his ascension to the chairmanship of the Obio Akpo local government area in 1999, to trace the story of how at every point in time, every election involving Wike has been decided by judges, and he has been the winner. And the judgments look ridiculous at every point and at every turn. And then you then match that up with his generosity to judges. And the correlation is spooky. And don't take my word for it. There is now an investigative report that has just come out, issued by Citizen Gavel, which is a group that focuses on digital information aggregation based on factually available material on the judiciary. And that report is damning in terms of what it concludes about Wike's methodology in relation to the judiciary. So the expression wicked judges is simply to say the man has acquired the judiciary as part of his personal accessory. And as I've said this afternoon, Nigeria now has officially, under the doctrine of separation of powers, we've got three arms of government, right? The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The legislature is headed by Godswill Akpabio. The executive is headed, we all know, by Bola Tinubu. And by common consent, the appearance now is that the judiciary is headed by Nyesom Wike. That is why the judiciary now is full of wicked judges. And that judiciary has been very fully Nyesomized, which is really what you saw with the commissioning event, the turning of the sword event for that judicial housing project in Abuja.
So you cannot, as the head of the FCT, be dishing out gifts, cars, and houses to judges in the Federal High Court, in the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. That's number one. Number two, you have cases before these courts on the theory of equality before the law. You cannot be seen to be giving cars or houses to judges who are going to determine your cases. And that is why the autonomy of the judiciary has now been constitutionalized.